"Sir, hands where we can see them," the SWAT officer shouted, boots stomping through broken glass as he rushed into the tiny living room. Mildred Jackson, 72, still in her bathrobe, gasped as the door flew off the hinges. Her husband, Earl Jackson, 75, sat calmly at the breakfast table, stirring his coffee. She reached for him, but an officer barked, "Step back, ma'am!" Then, pop! The taser crackled. Mildred hit the ground, a cry slipping from her lips as her body twitched. Earl didn't scream. He didn't move. He just looked straight at the SWAT team's leader and said 5 words, quiet as a whisper. "Call Major Beck. Right now." Every weapon in the room stopped cold. Earl Jackson was known around town as the friendly grandpa who made the best ribs on the block and fixed bikes for the neighborhood kids. Nobody paid much attention to the quiet old man with the faded army cap and the cane that never slowed him down. But that was the point. Earl had spent 30 years in the Army, most of them in places he wasn't allowed to name. Missions no one talked about, friends whose names never made the news. When he retired, he promised his wife one thing: peace and quiet. And for nearly 20 years, that's exactly what they had, until Tuesday morning. Earl had just poured his second cup of coffee when he heard the loud bang of a battering ram smashing through his front door. Within seconds, the house was full of shouting, boots, and red laser dots. "Police! Search warrant!" Earl raised his hand slowly. "There's been a mistake," he said, calm as ever. An officer pushed him to the floor and zip-tied his hands behind his back. Then came Mildred, just out of the shower, slippers on, confused. She froze when she saw Earl face down. "What is going on? Earl? Don't move, lady!" an officer yelled. She reached for her husband. That's when the taser fired. Earl saw red, but not the loud kind, the quiet, dangerous kind. He didn't fight, didn't raise his voice. When they dragged him up and stood him face to face with the team leader, Earl just said it. "Call Major Beck. Right now." The name hit like a punch. The team leader, a guy named Captain Riles, paused. "Who?" "You heard me," Earl said. "You've got 2 minutes before this becomes a career-ending disaster." Riles raised an eyebrow, annoyed. "We're looking for a Marcus Del Rio, drug lord. Intel says he's holed up here." Earl just looked him dead in the eye. "You're on Magnolia Street," he said. "Your warrant's for Magnolia Lane, 3 blocks over." Silence. Then he added, voice low and steady, "Beck's on speed dial with the Secretary of Defense, and he owes me his life. You better hope my wife's heart holds up while you're fumbling with the GPS." Captain Riles signaled to his team. "Check that address," he muttered. "Get a medic. Now." One officer opened Earl's wallet. Inside was a dog-eared card with a barely visible mark, a tiny silver falcon. Riles blanched. "Falcon clearance?" he whispered. Only a handful of people had ever even heard of that level. It meant Earl wasn't just some retiree. He was part of a world few dared speak of. Riles stepped back. "Patch me through to Major Beck. Priority red." The radio went silent for a beat. Then a crackly voice, "Go ahead!" And when Beck heard Earl's name, his voice changed completely. "You what? Stand down! Right now! I'll be there in 10. 15 minutes later, a black SUV roared down the street and skidded to a stop. Out stepped Major Beck himself, wearing jeans, a t-shirt, and a look that could cut steel. He didn't even glance at Captain Riles. "Earl? Mildred, you okay?" "She got tased," Earl said flatly. "By that one." He pointed. Beck didn't yell. He just stared at the young officer who immediately looked like he might throw up. Beck turned to Riles. "You're done. Get your people out of here. I'll handle the rest." Within an hour, the street was cleared. The medic had checked on Mildred. She'd be okay, just shaken, and the real raid was quietly completed on Magnolia Lane. As for Earl, he didn't say much. He held Mildred's hand all the way to the hospital and back, and then grilled ribs for the neighbors that weekend like nothing had happened. but everyone on that SWAT team remembered what he said. 5 quiet words. Call Major Beck. Right now. Because sometimes real power doesn't need volume. Sometimes it just drinks coffee, wears slippers, and asks nicely until it's time not to.